In context, Jamie, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Reeses. Today is the 26th of February. I found that out in the future clip. And the reason...
I like that.
And the reason why I am so happy is because I'm not in jail anymore.
Woohoo.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just got out of jail. Please, this is not the game of Monopoly, but I will address real estate, law, tax law, and very, very important subject matters that have nothing to do with the terms of my release. One of the very clear terms of my release is that MR said to the court, I am not allowed to contact MR indirectly or directly, so please understand that the reason why I was arrested is because of the videos that I filmed earlier where I express my true nature of being able to use this art piece to express my inner monologue, which is if I had the opportunity to say something directly, this is what I would say. But if you take away the first part and only use the second part and ignore the fact that in order to have watched the content, you would have to be literally stalking me. If you ignore all of that, then out of context, there's a very loose but illegal, means that it is against the First Amendment of the Constitution, argument that could be made. But in order to incarcerate a human being, you need to have an affidavit of probable cause that is honest, as well as an actual law that is broken. So when a human being finds themselves incarcerated for the better part, 7 days and 31 days total, they need to ask themselves, hey, am I just going to sit back and allow these things to happen to me? Or am I going to take action in a nonviolent, civil way? But what I'm not going to do is ever, no matter how much I disagree with the arrest, the incarceration, and the violation of my rights as both a father, a man, and a citizen of the United States, I will never, ever go against the very system I've sworn my life to protect. I believe in the U.S. Constitution and the law to a point that even when I think I'm absolutely right, I will comply with the court orders. And in the future video, my reference to mom was me speaking to my boys in the future. That is the only thing that can be taken out of context in the upcoming video. Is that correct, Jamie?
I agree.
So please understand, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm at a point where I have to do a pre-ramble for the pre-ramble. And
you do.
And essentially the reason for that is because I am so adamant about setting an example for every human being in this country, no matter what skin color, race, and please understand, skin color and race are completely different things, and so is religion and sociology and all of these fancy words that human beings who choose to educate either themselves or pay for an education find themselves being able to use. But to use words, you need to have strength and character. Conviction is not, it's not something that has to do with breaking the law.
Conviction?
Yeah, because you don't need to be convicted to get a conviction. Yeah. Conviction is a strength of character, and character is based on the seedlings of a bond, and that bond is with a human and themselves. And Jamie, do you know what builds character the most?
Tell me.
It is an opinion. This is 100% an opinion.
What is your opinion?
I believe that tragedy builds character. Tragedy is what really builds character, because human beings that find themselves in immense amount of pain either find themselves being broken or reaching within themselves to bring out the absolute very best in themselves.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, please understand that I have nothing but love in my heart. No matter how much how much pain I'm under or people cause to me, that will never, ever allow me to be anything but a man of code and honor. Unless you have experienced being incarcerated, especially in one of the worst jails known as the Green Monster, the Essex County Correctional Facility, I have spent 31 exact days being incarcerated in Essex County Correctional Facility for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that I made the mistake of going forward to the County of Essex and saying that I'm a victim of domestic violence. Boys, I know that one day you'll watch this. And please understand that what I had to do, I did it 100% for you, I did it for us, and I did it for the people of the United States, especially the ones that have found themselves in similar situations. And I was able to do it not by utilizing money, not by manipulating the system, not by lying, but being able to stand up and continue to film content and express that my job is to make money, but at the same time, I need to be a father, a role model, and a friend. And in order to do all those things, I had to really clean my life up. Is that well said?
Absolutely. Do you think that you have any really big regrets from what's gone on in the last couple months or so? Or do you feel like comfortable with what's...
It's a good
What is your
question.
path?
I think that a lot of the reason why I value Jamie so much is because I believe that she had the ability to change, and she has made a monumental stride towards cutting the bullshit out and being really honest. And if anyone that really knows Jamie knows that she really puts up a big front around a lot of other people, but herself, the true nature of herself, is she's an amazing, kind human being. And if I needed to be the first person to unlock that, since she was been a child or at youth, before she experienced a tragedy known as both a failed marriage and basically children birthed out of wedlock, because the reality is, based on the way that her ex-husband has acted over the last few months, my real regret is that I didn't stand up more for you. Because had I stood up more for you in both the law and everything else that has happened, I believe that your children obviously would be returned back to you. But in order for me to stand up, I had to go from being the angry young man, and the prelude is over, and we are now in the present. The past needed to be let go. So my regrets were also in the past.
Well
So
said.
in today's dollar, we find ourselves being able to answer questions honestly and directly. And the answer is, I used to have a lot of regret because I didn't do more to protect my best friend, who has done the most for me than any other human being. It is impossible. It is absolutely impossible to ignore why I'm ending this segment of this video on the most important part of why the recent arrest is so defamatory to the facts. And the facts are simple. It is virtually impossible to continue raising two minors who are almost 10 and 12 years old, who we have spent our entire lives raising, after a quarter of a century of never being accused of harassment, anything violent, and being nothing more than someone who actually receives gifts such as knives from their wife, to be able to ignore the set of circumstances that have led to being falsely arrested 6 times, and ignoring the 25 years of being together, while at the same time forcing down the throats of everyone who has to participate a completely invented story, which is not only believed, but for anyone that's wondering, I and the Township of Livingston are in very serious litigation. For me to file a motion for summary judgment, all that needed to happen was for them to first be sued and the lawsuit be put on the record, and then they did the most extreme version of what I'm suing them for after the lawsuit fully documented. So if anyone is wondering, I did not do this for money. I am not interested in reaping a benefit off of human misery. What I am interested in is showing that there are many human beings like me who suffer at the hands of corruption and motivated actors who are tax funded and are designed to protect the people of the country, especially Essex County. But rather than doing that, they flex their nuts at every opportunity they have to hurt the people that they don't like and to somehow artificially have a leg up in this game of life. And in the game of life, there's only one game that actually makes sense, and that is chess. Chess is the only game that I would say that every human being in this world is playing. And I am the best in the world at playing chess in real life. And I want to remind everyone that any pawn can take the queen, but the game is never over until the king is down. Good morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Emresis, and I have not said a single lie on YouTube. I have made a couple of mistakes. In retrospect, those mistakes are probably in the 2 to 3% range. And if you're watching this, today is the
26th of...
26th of February at exactly 10 to 10. Essentially, what this is going to be a preview of tonight's episode. And one of the things I just wanted to say is I found it very ironic that the goal is for me to really thank MR. And because of something called Daniel's Law, I cannot express to you that there are human beings who risk their lives in order to do a civil duty, a civic duty, or a civil duty. And those human beings that are dealing with a very dangerous element do deserve privacy and protection. So I will say that MR is both my mother's initials, my brother's initials, Miss Resnick's initials, a human being who I was expressly stated that I'm not allowed to address on YouTube's initials, and it's dozens of other people such as my best friend Matthew Rose, and MR is a universal initial that, or two initials, that really have been a constant in my life from childbirth. So growing up around Mark Rhesus and Margarita Rhesus and being the only, it's two misters, a doctor, and my father. And my father is, I like to jokingly say that he is the equivalent of Dr. Evil's father, who, excuse me.
You don't really talk about Mr. Evil's father.
It's Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
And MR
Mr.
also
Evil.
stands for Mr. And essentially, the reason why I say this is because I just got out of county jail. I just spent 7 days in county jail, or being locked up, and I spent exactly 31 days unlawfully being incarcerated over the last 8 months amongst 4 separate trips to county jail. One of the things that you'll hear tonight is the truth about what has happened, why it is so dangerous if we ignore this story, and what are the ramifications of not being able to recognize the laws that were broken in order to arrest an innocent man 6 times. Jamie got even arrested.
I did.
Twice at this point.
3
Wow.
times, however.
And people need to really understand that just because a system is broken and it's able to arrest human beings, that doesn't mean that those people are guilty. It actually is more of a sentiment to the truth of how corrupt and unjust the system is, that when human beings are trying to do their best to express that they are the victims of some really serious crimes, because a human has more money and has ability to lie under oath and in public and under sworn statements, which Jamie and I are not able to do. Nothing that we've ever said or signed on behalf is a lie. And I believe that that's the really important part of this that most people are missing. And for my children at home and Jamie's children on mine and Jamie's behalf, I just want to say that when human beings tell you that Daniel or your mother are lying, all you have to do is either ignore them because they have no business in hurting you, or express to them what are they lying about. And if the person doesn't have the ability to answer, then you clearly understand that we're not lying. And if they do give you an answer, please remember that both Jamie and myself need to have an opportunity to respond to that before you make judgment. So to all 5 children that are watching this, please understand that Jamie birthed 3 of you out of her own body. Mine, boys, you came from a seed in my nutsack. I don't know how to say it in a, what? I'm just saying they couldn't have existed without me, but your mother did the majority of the labor. That's why it's called labor. But in retrospect, a huge part of everything that you see was done by your father and not your mother. And I believe that she's a great woman, she's a great mom, and there's nothing wrong with me expressing positive things and vibes and never talking about her directly to her. And that's really what I was arrested for. Because if you look at the videos prior, I have attempted to express that this is an art piece and I'm not directing any direct communications, but that was all ignored and taken out of context to only isolate the moments where I addressed the camera directly. I am not a complete moron. I was released on very specific terms. I would like to show that by abiding by those terms, I proved my enemies wrong, while at the same time not suppressing my First Amendment right to freedom of speech. And there are thousands of other topics that I can discuss that do not include my divorce. But I do want to express that the concept of MR is not only paradoxical, but really is the root of this video. Is that I would like to say thank you to MR for judging me the right way. I believe that I'm extremely lucky in the things that I've received in this world. And although I haven't seen my boys in almost 8 months, and it is so illegal and wrong, this video is also to the Livingston Police Department, who are in possession of my property. I am not going to tolerate this any longer. I have been abused through sadistic means of false arrest, as well as being laughed at, being ridiculed, being told a phone call will be returned, and my property is not being released. This is a law being broken, which means that if I do not have any communication from Detective Detective Vella, okay, you don't have to whisper.
Bella. Okay.
Yeah, Detective Vella, Detective Collis, and Detective Maldonado, who are in charge of the property room, please understand that I'll have no choice but to file another federal injunction barring you from possession of my lawful goods. The things that are in question I do not want back. The things that will ever be looked at as controversial I don't want back. I would like to address those matters in a formal court so that a judge makes a ruling and I do not have to worry about false imprisonment and being set up, which is what you have done to me on 6 occasions. Unfortunately for you, I have become stronger and stronger with each instance. And what I will express to everyone at home is that violence is never the answer, that you will see I am able to do what I need to do in a format that's fast, legitimate, accurate, and sincere. Jamie, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up this segment? Because tonight's episode is going to be absolutely jaw-dropping. It is, I will say the things that you never believed I would say, while at the same time never breaking a single law, and recognizing that it is imperative that you all finally started to listen. And honestly, thanks guys. It's a sad, sad state of affairs when I have to be incarcerated for exactly 31 days, and the audience doesn't understand the significance of that number. You see, 31 is the perfect number of squares in 1,000, and this is an applied math channel. This is a channel about business, it's about code and honor, and this is about me telling everyone that what I went through is mentally one of the most difficult things you can even humanly imagine. And what I will do today will do something that I will be able to express to you that I want to thank all the inmates that were good to me, that I've made a promise to, and I will fulfill my promise by offering them careers. Once I am stabilized in the position that I'm in, I will immediately go into litigation attack mode, which is a defensive strategy, believe it or not. It is not offensive, which means that frivolous litigation accusations are no longer an issue because I've recognized that there's a reason why I've never been sanctioned. Is because my facts are all 100% correct. The only reason I've ever lost or had any delays in any one of my trials is because of complete and utter corruption, as well as negligence and incompetence on the courts. And if being arrested 6 times without committing a crime is not enough for you to understand just how broken the system is, well, you will really enjoy tonight's episode. Because what I will do is I will fix, well, look, I'll give you a preview, okay? 6 years ago when I concluded the Rittenhouse narrative, or it was actually 4 years ago, technically it took a little bit longer, I was very clearly instructed to shit or get off the pot. And that is, within the context of my magic trick, I made a series of promises. One of them was, I will save this country. You can't save this country without actually saving this country. You sound like a complete crazy person. So in order for you to understand what I'm about to do is, I will create a beta project for the complete and utter reformation or reform in the penal system, which is the core issue as identified by me, Daniel M. Reeses, #1 in the world in applied mathematics. I will explain to you what the issue is, I will explain to you the variables, I will explain to you the mathematics behind it, and I will absolutely explain to you the guaranteed proof. I will also reveal the final stages, I will explain to you the actuality of what happens to a human being when they're incarcerated, how the law works, how the law does not work, and where we as a society will fall if we do not make the immediate changes. aside from the fact that there is human rights violations, the inhumane quality of life inside of the penal system, especially in Essex County, is not the fault of the guards nor the inmates. It is a completely broken system where decisions are made by individuals who are thinking only of themselves or in a small group of people that they represent, rather than the logical aspect of where the money goes when it is actually time to allocate it. When you have a budget that's a little less than $1 billion a year, and what I'm about to describe to you are the actual events that occurred to me over the last 8 months with 7 to 8 days of incarceration, which means that I had to live through the torment and torture of knowing that not only did I not commit a crime, but I am being utilized as a scapegoat for human beings who do not want to take responsibility for what they have done. And personal responsibility is the key lesson to the number 23. And I would like to finish off this intro teaser, whatever you want to call it, with a very simple explanation of what the number 23 actually means. For anyone who doesn't understand this, the 23 Enigma is not real. You could have the 24 Enigma, you could have the 20 Enigma. There's a series of endless amount of numbers that you can root back and forth, which means that if you start with the number 23 and you go backwards, you can find it anywhere within a series of numbers. So when you write a script or a movie or a book, it's very easy to fool the audience. All you have to do is make it forward, which is impossible to watch a movie backwards unless you're weirdly non-functioning. But the point is that you can't watch a movie and rewind. So the number 23 Enigma, it just works that way. But the core of the movie is that if you look at the character Jim Carrey plays, he starts to become obsessed with numbers because numbers don't lie. And his issue is that he's not able to express that he himself is lying to himself. So he gravitates towards very complex mathematical paradigms and paradoxes in order to start to get closer to the truth. And the closer he becomes to the truth, the better he becomes at math, and the more he understands that numbers don't lie. And eventually he comes to the final point in his life where the definitive moment of his life comes where he is able to understand that if numbers don't lie, then he is the one. And that sentence right there is the whole point. Is one is obviously a dual meaning, but essentially numbers don't lie. And humans like myself find myself in a similar situation where I was able to calmly express the reality of my love of numbers and mathematics. And although I did not murder anyone, nor do I have any violent thoughts, I am a human being who has constantly proven that humans that want to do bad and hurt other people will not be allowed to get away with it under my watch. Because I actually give a shit. I care about the people that are bullied, I care about the weak, and I definitely care about the silent. Because those are the humans that actually need me. And for my boys, I want you to know that dad ain't no bitch. What that means is that no amount of pain will ever equate to the amount of love that I have for you. So I don't have the ability to continue to fight over something that is not real. The reality is that I've spent my entire life taking care of mom, and I love who I am. I love the fact that I'm able to exercise my freedom of speech while at the same time recognizing that there is a completely bogus set of circumstances that have invented a gag order against me, which I would love to comply by in order to show the courts and everyone at home that real strength is mental, not physical. And true perseverance and character can only be achieved at the most painful moments of your life, because when things are good, you don't know who you are. But show me a man or a woman who stands up when shit hits the fan, and I will show you a real hero.